everybody, it's Alyce-Kay Ruckelshaus of Threshold of Hineni, and I'm going to continue working on this explosion box. Even though you're seeing this the next day, I'm recording this right after I finished gluing these papers on. So this paint is still wet, so we're not going to do anything with this piece now. We're going to set it aside to dry. And if you watched the first video of this, of the explosion box, I think it's actually the third video of my series on this particular designer team project, you will have seen that I thought that I made a mistake when I first cut these to be 12 by 12, but it wasn't a mistake. It was actually how I had thought it out ahead of time, but when I actually did it, then it's like I couldn't see it. So we're going to do that again. We're going to try to do the outer layer this time. The one that we've been working on is the inner layer because I cut that one down. So first of all, we need to cut this to be 6 inches wide, which means that when it opens up, it's going to be 12 inches. All right, so we're going to cut this at 6 inches. There we go, and we save all these because we can use those for things later on. Okay, and then this needs to be 12 inches. Oh, actually, it's not quite 12 inches. That's right. So I have to cut that to a little bit less than 6 inches. Okay, so this is 11 and 3/4. So half of, wait, so 11 and 3/4. So this needs to be also 11 and 3/4. Okay, so actually where I could measure it is this way. Okay, so it goes just beyond my dotted line here. Actually, let's just make it go right to the dotted line so that so it'll just be easier. Okay, so we're cutting that little bit off and we can throw that away. Okay, and then this, shoot. Okay, how do I want to do this? Because I want to have this fold in the center. So I guess I'll just cut just a smidge off here. And then hopefully I can cut the same smidge off here and have it end up being the same. Yep. Whoa, no, that's going to be a lot more. Okay, so we'll cut a little bit more of a smidge. Okay, we're going to try to get this so that it's... oh, I know. Okay, let's just do it this way. Let's do this. Let's make this 5 3/4. So that will make our total, I think, 11 1/2. I'm like not doing very well mathematically. Okay, it makes it come right straight to the edge, to that dotted line. So that's what we're going to do. So we want this to go to that dotted line also, which it does. Perfect. Okay, so we're doing great. Okay, and I want to do 4 of them like that. What did I do with my other manila folders? Here we go. So I want to do 4 of them exactly the same size. So this is cut to 6 3/4, and this goes right to the line. Okay? So 6 3/4 and right to the line. So let's put this here. I want the fold 6 3/4. There we go. Save that, and then right to the line. That outer dotted line is what we're going for. Okay, so let's check that. That doesn't seem like we cut off as much. No, we didn't. It's 5 3/4, not 6 3/4. Seriously, you guys. Okay, so just in case this is the first one that you're watching, I lost my husband 3 weeks ago. That is my excuse right now for all my mental incapacities. I'm actually always kind of a lost cause, but right now I'm using that as an excuse. Okay, so now it should be the same because we want them all to be exactly the same. Yep. So 5 3/4. We want the fold to be over here. We want to preserve the fold. We're going to use it. 5 3/4, and all the way out to the outer dotted line. There we go. Okay. And 5 3/4. and out to the outer dotted line. There we go. Okay, now let's just check and make sure that all 4 of them are the same. Yep, they're all exactly the same. Okay, good. So now, if I can just not freak myself out again and remember how I thought this through, what I want to do is I'm going to have 4 layers on top of each other for the bottom, because that will just make it a lot stronger. And there's going to be 2 layers on each side, which will also make it stronger. So what I want to do is fold these in half this way. Okay, so I want to keep the center lined up there and fold it in half. And I want to get it really well creased, so I'm going to use a pen to crease it. There we go. If you have a scoreboard, you could score it. I have, like, there's a little score area on my envelope maker, but it's not big enough for this. And I feel like I can do it accurately enough this way, so that's fine. Okay, so I'm folding that edge so it's exactly even, and then I'm gonna just crease it really well. Okay, there we go, and I'm using this for a Bible study that I'm doing. Instead of using a journal this time, I'm using an explosion box, kind of like a journal. At least that's my thought. We'll see. We will see how it works. But, you know, sometimes my thoughts don't always work out. But I think it's at least going to be a cool explosion box. If I have to use it for something else, that's fine. But I think it'll be neat for this. It might sound a little too fun for a Bible study, I don't know, but I think it'll be cool. One of the things that I've been thinking about a lot lately is legacy. And, you know, it's like, how can I attract my descendants or whoever, how can I attract them to want to read what I learned and to learn from it so that they can go even farther? And one of the things that I've come to the conclusion of is that junk journals are perfect for that, because they're so interactive. You know, it's like, okay, you might run across somebody's journals and go, oh yeah, I'll set these aside and read them someday. But if you have all these pockets and pull tabs and stuff, you're going to sit down and want to figure it out like right away. And it's just more fun and interactive, and in smaller bites too. So I just think that it would be really helpful. So it's the same thing with this. Okay, so now what I'm thinking is, what I want to do, my finished product will have 4 of these on top of each other, creating my box. But there's one part that I need to get rid of on each one. So this is going to be this side, and I'll keep this, but this is what I'm going to cut out, is this part right here. And actually, let's make it this one right here with the writing on it. So I'm going to cut that out. Hopefully I'm doing this right. We shall see. I think I'm going to have to cut a slit in one someplace too, but I'm not quite sure yet. Okay, so I'm going to keep this square because I can use this for something else. If not in this project, I can use it someplace else. Okay, so that gives me the bottom. Yeah, and a wraparound like this. Okay, so let's just cut out one of these squares. It doesn't really matter which square, so I may as well do the one that has the most typing and stuff on it. Right? See what time it was when I started. If this cuts off at some point because I didn't look and see how long it was, look in the description box below, because I'll have a link to the rest of the video. It doesn't stop recording, it just splits it into another video, which is crazy, but I don't know why my phone does that. And if somebody has any idea, then let me know, because I'd really like it to stop doing that. Oh, you guys. Seriously, I'm such a basket case. But I'm glad that I'm crafting again. That's really helping. I guess I was kind of crafting through the whole thing, other than maybe the first couple days. I was sent a journal really sweetly by one of the ladies in one of the groups that I'm in, a junk journal, and so I have been filling that up with stuff about Bill and our marriage, and that's been very therapeutic. But it hasn't been like creating, it's just been like scrapbooking kind of, which in a way is creating. But now I'm starting to, when I first thought of doing this, I really felt like waiting a few weeks, but I decided I kind of needed to jump into it, and several people encouraged me to. They felt like it would help me feel better sooner too. Okay, so now let's figure out how to lay this out. So this is going to be, did I do this right? I'm not sure I did this right. I still might have it screwed up. No, I want it to go, oh you guys, I just can't think straight. It's terrible. Yeah. Okay, so this is how I want it to be. Okay, and I'm going to have 4 pieces like that. These are going to be glued to each other, these bottom pieces, which is going to make a really nice sturdy layer on the bottom. Okay, so I watched a bunch of tutorials about how to make these, but I'm doing it differently than any of them, at least any of the ones that I saw. I'm kind of like pulling together ideas from all of them and then adding my own, and there we go. Okay, so that's how I want it to be. So this is the outer layer, okay? And so when you take the box off and this falls open, it's going to fall like this into a big, huge square. Okay, so I think the first thing we need to do is glue all these layers together so that I don't get confused about what's where. No, the first thing I need to do is distress these. Okay, so let's get to work. Distressing. And I might also glue the paper onto these before, oh, do I want to round the corners? I think so. I might also glue the paper onto these before putting it together too. Okay, so let's, oh no, rounding the corners, we want to go from this side. So this particular tool is actually an envelope punch, but it has a part to round corners, and it has a great punch in it too for pocket thumb holes, which are actually, you know, for making that part of the envelope right there. It's kind of, it's meant to just be for envelopes, but it really does work out well as a 3-in-1 kind of tool. And it's like each of those tools individually, you know, were $9.99, but getting it all in one, it was $9.99 for the whole thing. So it was just a really good bargain. And, you know, it took me 5 or 6 months to get one. And now, seriously, you guys, I would totally recommend getting this as like the first thing that you buy when you start junk journaling, because it's so helpful and it makes your projects look so much more finished when you have rounded corners and when you have thumb holes on the pockets and stuff. So I would totally invest in one of these. It's not a huge investment. It's $10. So it's just really, really helpful. So that's just my advice if you're starting out, or if you've been doing this for a while and you haven't gotten one yet, I would definitely get it. And I'll link it below for you. By the way, if you buy anything from Amazon using any of my Amazon links, I do get a little bit of a kickback. I only recommend things that I really like. It's usually just a few cents that I get back, or if you get something really expensive, I might get a few dollars. But it adds up, and it really helps me. Because right now, I'm in a place of not knowing what's going to happen. Really, a little scary, but I'm trusting God. So anyway, yeah, it doesn't cost you anything more. Amazon just gives me kind of like a little tiny referral fee. And so if you do buy any of these things, I really do appreciate it when you use the links. I appreciate it a great deal. So like I said, all those little things add up. Okay, so now let's go ahead and distress these. And I like to distress all my edges just because it makes it a lot more defined, and it gives it kind of an old, not necessarily vintage. I mean, if you want it to be vintage, then it does give it that vintage look. I'm not really necessarily going for a vintage look on this, so I'm just doing the edges and not getting so much onto the rest, you know, like in the middle of the paper or anything like that. But it does give it a little bit of a used and worn look, which I like. I really like shabby chic. So that's what this is. And we want to also do the creases. So it takes a little while to do your distressing, but I think that your finished product ends up looking so much better. And like I was saying in the previous video, I would usually take my distressing when I had a bunch to do like this, and I would just take it out to the kitchen and sit with Bill, and we would sit and talk. So I didn't feel like I was, like, you know, wasting time doing this or anything. Make sure I got it on both sides. There we go. And, you know, it's fine if some of it gets farther onto the paper, because when things age, they don't age all evenly. So some of it kind of creeps into the paper. And this color is Vintage Photo. It's by Tim Holtz, Ranger. So I'll put a link to that too down in the description. Make it easier for you to find. There we go. Oh, I got some paint on it, but that's okay too. All that adds character to it. I painted the center of the inner section in a previous video, and I guess I got some on the, I must have gotten some on the table and didn't realize it. Should have wiped it off, but that's okay because, like I said, it just adds more character to the whole thing. Okay, what do we still need? We still need to do these creases. There's also just something that's just really comforting and therapeutic about distressing. You know, it's a repetitious movement, which I think is, you know, it's like rocking is a repetitious movement. And you also, it's something that you see immediate results from, and immediately cool results. So I enjoy doing that. It's really neat. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so I'm gonna probably do the others off camera. I wanna get going on putting some design paper on here. So this is going to be the outermost, and this one is the innermost, and there will be either one or two more layers in between them, probably two. So these are flaps, and this is going to be the bottom. So I want something that's going to look good. This is not going to be immediately on top of it. It'll have a couple layers below it. So all these things are coordinated. I'm using Penny Whittemore's kit, and her store on Etsy is called It's Just Penny. I'm using her kits, 3 of her kits actually, I think. I'm using her butterfly kit, her Be Still Magnolia kit, and I'm not sure what the kit is that these are from, but I'll find out and I'll link those below. So I want something that I'm going to have enough paper to use on all these, or that's coordinating. I guess I don't have to use the same thing. Ooh, I like that. It's big. And then I could use this on the opposite ones. Maybe I should do that. I like that. Okay. That's really pretty. That's from the 3rd kit that I couldn't remember the name of. So, okay, so what do I need? And I think I can get 2 from each of these. Yeah. Okay. I need to measure is what I need to do. Okay, so these squares are 5 3/4 by, they should be 5 3/4, yes, 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. So we want to do it a 1/2 inch smaller so that we've got a 1/4 inch edge all the way around. So 5 3/4 makes that 5 1/4 when we take off 1/2 inch. So we're going to cut 5 1/4 inch squares. And I'm hoping for 2 or maybe 4 5 1/4 inch squares. I think I'm just going to get 2 from each of these, which is fine. Okay, so I'm going to cut my edges off first because my printer doesn't go all the way to the edge. I like using digital kits because I make my own too, but I like using other people's digital kits because they've coordinated all the colors for me and stuff, and so I'm not having to do a lot of thinking. Which right now, because oops, I just knocked my distressing inky thingy off. Because right now, with what I'm going through with having lost my husband and everything, it's just hard for me to think. And so the more decisions that can already be made for me, like these things go well together, the easier it is for me. And if you're not the kind of person who is good at picking out things that go well together, kits like this are also incredibly helpful. And even if you are, it's just fun to use somebody else's kit. It really is. And it's fun, like this is a design team project, so there's other people using the same kits, but they're using them in different ways, and all of our projects come out completely different. And that's what's really fun about going and looking at all the design team projects, is seeing all the different things you can do with the same materials, but everybody's things turn out different. And so it's just a great way to get inspired. Okay, so we said 5 1/4. So I need 5 1/4. I kind of want to cut this down the center. Yeah, I'm going to end up cutting some off the edge, but I want to cut down the center so I have the middle of that design. Well, not exactly down the center, but close. Okay, so we want to make this now 5 1/4. I'm trying not to mumble, you guys. Sorry. I'm trying to make it loud enough so that you can hear what I'm saying while I'm figuring things. So 5 1/4 is what we're doing here. And will this cut to 5 1/4? That would be 10 1/2. No, it won't. So I'm just going to get one out of it. So I'm going to get this bottom one, I think. So 5 1/4 is what I want. 5 1/4. Yeah. Okay. And I'll set this aside to use someplace else. And then 5 1/4 of this one. The same way. 5 1/4. There we go. Okay. And then we're just about to be cut off. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and we can finish it up tomorrow. Okay? I love you all. I will talk to you later.